This is the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by the United States Air Force. Now, here's your host, Brandon Wirth.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode here of the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by the United States Air Force. It's yours truly here on this Saturday morning. Brandon, we're joining you here live, whether you're on WBRN.com, WBRN mobile app, or live with us over the airwaves, 96.5, 1460 AM, or 107.7 FM. Thanks for joining us here on this Saturday. A lot of implications going down in boys and girls hoops last night in CSAA action. We're here to break it all down for you, as well as give you the full breakdown of the boys bracket, as we have officially heard word from sources on who is playing who in the first round coming on Monday. And let me tell you what, I am absolutely stoked for these first round matchups. It's certainly going to be a wild ride, and we'll get into that here later on in the show. After, of course, the local sports scoreboard, we'll go over all of the recent contests, both in basketball as well as wrestling, districts, team districts, and individual districts and regionals. Over the last couple of weeks, we'll break some of that down, highlight some names there as well. And if we have time here on the program, we'll get into 5 ways that you can fill out your March Madness brackets here, as we're just about that time, believe it or not. Only a couple weeks away until we're going to be in the conference tournament consideration in Big Ten basketball, as well as in Division I basketball as a whole. And we're going to start talking about who's going to the big dance and how other teams might be looking on the outside and don't have a chance to get in. My Michigan fans know exactly what I'm talking about, unfortunately. But it's going to be a great episode. If you miss out on any of these episodes for all your local high school coverage, don't worry. Go on over to WBRN.com, or as well, you can go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, search the West Michigan Sports Show, and you can catch up on any episodes you may have missed out each and every weekend. No matter where you are, you can take the show wherever you go, and you can subscribe and follow so you don't miss out on any episodes of the West Michigan Sports Show, whether on the weekend, post-recorded, pre-recorded. Hey, if you're a super fan and you want to get there early and you can subscribe, hey, we like you. We love you. And you certainly are a great fan of the show, and we have so many great fans that keep our bills paid and keep this show going. So can't appreciate you guys enough, and thank you for all the support you've had for this program. Big thanks to our local sports supporters. Those include the United States Air Force as the primary sponsor of the West Michigan Sports Show. Big thanks to them, as well as some of our other great sponsors: Johnson's Automotive, the Schuberg Insurance Agency, Quality Car and Trunk Repair, Alter Care of Big Rapids, Paris Auto Sales and Service of Big Rapids, Moda, the Macasta Osceola Transit Authority, and the Macasta Osceola Career Center. Thank you for your support of local high school sports. We'll get into the local sports scoreboard now here as we take a look at the recent week of matchups and contests. We'll start with February 9th. That was last Friday. For those that may have missed out on last week's episode, didn't get quite all of them in as some of the other scores were being finalized, but we got them now for you here, and we'll get into everything all the way up until this past Friday night as we're recording this here on Saturday, February 17th. Starting on February 9th, the Cardinals hosting Lakeview for senior night. The big win for the Cardinals as they get a win over the Wildcats, 80-45. Dominant performance from the seniors, over 40 combined points from 12th graders, and it was a really good sight to see there in Cardinal Arena. Kent City beats Central Montcalm on the road, 60-49 in boys hoops action, as well as Newaygo holds off a hungry Howard City Tri-County Viking team that has been really ramping it up over the last couple weeks. We'll get to them here in just a little bit. 81-76. Final score there from Howard City. Grant takes down Chip Hills on the road in dominant fashion, 79-46. They beat the Warriors, as well as the Mohawks fall to the White Cloud Indians at home, 65-41. Your final score there in boys action. On to the girls' side, Big Rapids completes the sweep over Lakeview, 43-23, the final score there on senior night, as well as Kent City, the Eagles, get the sweep over the Hornets. They win 54-42 on the girls' side, as well as the Lions of Newaygo make it a 2-0 sweep, 55-25. They dominate the Vikings on the road, and Grant completes the sweep over Chip Hills, 58-23, your final score there. And finally, the lone one that was not a sweep for in boys and girls action in the CSAA. Moly Stanwood takes down White Cloud on the road, 55-15 in dominant fashion. On to February 12th, this is where things started to get very, very interesting. Grant holds off Central Montcalm at home 77-74. What an effort from Central Montcalm, but the Tigers hold on to their CSAA tournament hopes with that close victory, as well as a non-conference action. A couple teams playing. Newaygo holding off Shelby 73-60, Battle of Lions and Tigers. North Muskegon beats White Cloud to stay undefeated on the season. Spoiler alert, they finished their regular season 21-0, folks. They're a really good basketball team. They take down the Indians 57-38. Your final score there. TC West and Big Rapids went to overtime up in Travers in the Cherry Capital. Unfortunately, the Cards fall short 72-65. The Titans take down Big Rapids there in non-conference action, a rescheduled game from earlier on this year. Lakeview and St. Louis squared off, and it was St. Louis on top of the Wildcats 41-28 there in girls action. And also on the girls side, Montebello and White Cloud battling to the wire, and a buzzer beater from the Indians gets home the win at home 29-27. And I think I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it was a top 5 play on MLive this past week and a couple other news outlets there. What an incredible shot off of a full court pass. It was incredible to see. I wish I had filmed for you guys to see it, but it certainly was spectacular. I'm sure you could look it up whenever White Cloud Athletics' Facebook page is. I think that's where I saw it, so you can check it out for yourself. Pretty incredible play. SportsCenter Top 10, maybe nominee, might be a little too late, but I'll put my bid in for that to try to get it over the national airwaves. One day ahead, February 13th, there in, I believe it would be Tuesday action, if my calendar and my cranium serve me correctly. Tri-County and Moe Stanwood squared off, and boy, what a battle that was. It was the Mohawks over the Vikings, 68-63. Moe Stanwood wins on the road at the Vikings. Shepherd and Chip Hill squaring off. It's the Blue Jays over the Warriors, 56-39. St. Louis and Lakeview squared off, and this time Lakeview gets the better of them, 58-50. Your score there in non-conference action, as well as on the boys' side, a highly anticipated matchup, and especially a long-historied one. Cadillac and Reed City squaring off. North in Cadillac, it's the Vikings over the Coyotes, 54-32. As Cadillac not showing any signs of slowing down, despite moving up to Class A in Division I this year. In girls action, Cadillac falls to Reed City at home, 40-32. The Coyotes get the victory for Coach Belfuse and company, as well as Central Montcalm falls to Covenant Christian of Grand Rapids, 65-52. Your score there from last Tuesday. Grant and Holton squaring off, a pair of former CSAA foes. It's the Tigers over the Red Devils, 66-26. Your final score, as well as Hart and Kent City go to overtime. It's the Eagles over the Pirates, 52-46. They win it in overtime. Moe Stanwood over Muskegon Oak Ridge, 61-38 in dominant fashion, as well as Orchard View squaring off with Newaygo and falling to the Lions, 50-30. And finally, the final game on the February 13th slate, it's Shepherd over Chippewa Hills, 50-19. Your score there. On to Wednesday, we're going to keep it rolling here. Grant and White Cloud, this was a well-anticipated basketball game, and certainly it came down to the wire. It's the Indians on the road beating the Grant Tigers. They're 77-70. It was a heck of a ball game, but what I got to see online after the game, as well as watching a little bit of film back from that game on NFHS, really cool basketball game, and certainly two really good teams squaring off there, and two teams that look to be in the CSAA tournament. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Tri-County takes down Kent City in an upset. The Vikings beat the Eagles on the road, 48-39. Your final score there. Big Rapids get some trouble from Chip Hills, but they hold off the Warriors 55-42 in what I can fairly say was not the cleanest basketball game from either side. It was quite entertaining to be not organized, it seemed like, at points at all. But Big Rapids still gets the win, as well as in girls action, Grant gets the makeup game win over White Cloud 50-23. That was from, I believe it was all the way back January 12th or 13th, I believe. Grant gets the win there as well. Kent City takes down Tri-County 58-22, your final score there, as well as Chip Hills falls to Big Rapids 58-13, dominant win for Coach Heist and company. Now we get to some wrestling scores, regional action from this past week. We'll start in Region 118. Chip Hills falls to Hart. This, of course, is team wrestling, not individual wrestling, but team wrestling. Chip Hills falls to Hart 42-22 to end their team title hopes this year, but still a great season especially. I mean, that crew really did a fantastic job. You got to see a lot of really good results from Coach Vogel's squad. I mean, they finished on a high note, especially with a lot of really good wrestling feats and a lot of good individual competitors as well. Tyler Gear doing very well in the 145 weight division. Hunter Sellers in 160. John Kempton 152. So I think that's certainly a lot of great positivity, and I wish I could name all the names if we had time, but a lot of good results there for Chippewa Hills this year there in individual action. As well, Wrestling Region 119, Tri-County holds off Grand Rapids Catholic Central, 36-35 your score, and that was certainly one down to the wire, one that will be in the memory books for a long time as the Vikings hold off Catholic Central. Dominant fashion, they will fall to Whitehall in the ensuing regional title round against the Vikings 60-9. Yes, Whitehall seems to be on a mission this winter sports season across the board. Regional 127, Lakeview beating Pine River 44-28 in a highly contested matchup between two powerhouse wrestling programs. Lakeview would go on to win over Pine River, and I think it's certainly meant to say that Pine River's had an incredible season, and despite their loss to Lakeview, still a lot of great results. Jericho Holmes had a really nice season, Ryder Holmes as well, both those guys doing a really awesome job. But got to give credit to Lakeview, and especially for their coaching staff for continually putting their teams in contention. For Lakeview, unfortunately, the road would not go on much longer as they fall to St. Louis in the regional title round, 46-14. Your final score there. Good season nonetheless, though, in team action there from Lakeview. But we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll finish up the scores from this past Friday night and get into bracketology coming up after this break here on News Radio WBRN. All right, we're back again here on the West Michigan Sports Show, segment 2, finishing out the scoreboard and getting into what everybody is here to see, the bracketology coming up for next week's CSAA tournament in boys hoop action. But we'll go to February 16th. That's where we left off last for those listening live over the airways. That was last night of all of our scores, and everybody's been anticipating. I got so many text messages yesterday. I cannot tell you the amount of appreciation that I have for all of our great fans here of the show, because I'm getting texts and I'm getting messages saying, hey, what's the score of this game? What's the score of this game? That just shows that what we're putting out here on the Rundown West Michigan Sports Show, all of these great local sports shows, which if you haven't seen the Rundown, check that out, Big Country 100.9's Facebook page. We're taking a deep dive into one sport every year. This year we picked basketball, and it was a really exciting time to be able to get into the nitty-gritty of boys and girls basketball, and talking about, especially this week, we talked about all of the game implications. And there was one thing that we missed. There was a tiebreaker that we'll talk about here in a little bit that we thought was going to be head-to-head first based on the information that I had inferred from before with a couple coaches, but it turns out it's actually NPR, which is the tiebreaker, which changed things just a little bit in the bracketology. But, of course, you need to know the scores first. So here we go. February 16th from Friday. Big Rapids holds off Newaygo 65-50. Your final score there. The Cardinals take down the Lions and eliminate Newaygo from CSAA tournament action. Central Montcalm, Bowie Stanwood turns into an instant thriller down there in Sheridan and Stanton. Oh boy, what a game that was. But it's the Hornets on top of the Mohawks, 57-52. Your final score there. The Tigers hold off Kent City, and by hold off I mean dominate, 62-42. Tigers beat the Eagles and solidify their CSAA tournament berth for next Monday. Non-conference action, Manistee, the Mariners take down Tri-County 71-49. Your final score in that basketball game, as well as Chip Hills gets back on the winning note, and especially on a high note, 64-37. They beat the Lakeview Wildcats. They're in conference action. And finally, the game that everyone's been watching. Yes, the Reed City CSAA crown in the regular season solidified, undefeated 49-42. The Coyotes take down the Indians on the road in a classic there in White Cloud. Girls action. Molly Stanwood takes down Montcalm 54-41 there in what was a crazy basketball game. And how about this? Kent City wins in overtime over the Grant Tigers. They pull off the upset, and just like we had predicted, there was a chance we'd see Molly Stanwood back on top. Now they're tied with the Tigers going ahead into next Friday's finale. Boy, I can't tell you how excited that basketball game's going to be. there, and I just can't even imagine what the scriptwriters are thinking when they put this season together to see it unfold just like this. Lakeview over Chippewa Hills, 45-28 on the road. Winners there, Lakeview, as well as in girls action. Coyotes dominating the Indians. Reed City wins 57-15 over White Cloud. So there you have it. Those are the previous scores, and now it's that time. The CSAA tournament bracket. Based on the sources that I've learned from over the last 24 hours, we have a bracket that has been announced, and boy, it was one we were wondering if it was possible. And of course, we were inferring that head-to-head was going to be the tiebreaker initially, but since all of the teams are 8-2, it actually turns into MPR to determine the seeding. So there was one possibility that we were wondering if it would happen, and it was one of the most outlandish ones that we were thinking of. It has happened. Boy, this is exciting. So here we go. Round one, and this is the semifinal round. This will be taking place on Monday, February 20th at 7 p.m. Both of these games, of course, these semifinal games, both at 7 o'clock, two different locations. The first game, number one seeded Reed City. They've dominated all year, 61 points per game offensively, 36 points allowed in conference action, 24-point differential for those that don't have their calculators out. Incredible season from Coach Walsh and company. Their crew will be hosting the Grant Tigers in a rematch coming this season. They played back earlier before the new year. Reed City got the win on the road. Now Grant looks for revenge as the 4 seed and the top offensive scoring team in CSAA action this year as they'll travel to the Den round 1 on Monday. What a basketball game that will be. On the other side of the bracket, getting the 2 seed and hosting this first round on Monday is the Big Rapids Cardinals. Virtue of MPR tiebreaker, Big Rapids MPR at .578, White Cloud at .554, and Grant at .551. How close could it be? Boy, it couldn't get any closer. So that was the order of rankings, because all these conference teams, 2, 3, and 4, White Cloud, Big Rapids, and Grant, all finishing 8-2 in their CSAA slate, of course, beating each other basically round robin in that pool of 3 teams. But Big Rapids wins it as far as the tiebreaker based on MPR, so they will host the White Cloud Indians in a rematch. There was a win back in, I believe it was December, that Big Rapids took down White Cloud on the road. Now White Cloud has a potential revenge tour going to Cardinal Arena on Monday to face off against Big Rapids. What a basketball game that is going to turn out to be. Can't wait to bring you that coverage. We'll be getting pregame at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time there for that pregame action. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be electric. I'll be on the call with you. Joe Nagy will likely be on the board. So you're going to get a good broadcast, and we're going to bring you all the great things that we're ready for upcoming here for CSAA basketball. So there is the bracket. That is where we stand. The winners will play on Wednesday, February 22nd at 7 p.m., the highest seed remaining. So Reed City wins, they host. If not, it'll be the next highest seed, whether it would be Big Rapids then or White Cloud. Whoever wins that game will host. Unfortunately, Grant's kind of out of luck when it comes to being the 4 seed, but I think them as a 4 seed, especially for how well they played on the road this year, I think they're certainly going to have something to say about that as the underdog coming into this year's tournament. It's going to be really exciting. I cannot wait to bring you guys this coverage all CSA tournament long. Be sure to stick around and tune into the rundown, as we mentioned earlier on here in this segment, on Big Country 100.9's Facebook, as well as you can find on Big Country 100.9's YouTube, and BigRapidsDailyNews.com and Big Rapids Daily News on Facebook and Instagram. To find that posted link, I'll be sure to put it up for you guys so you can find it on YouTube and you can stream that episode. We'll break it down, myself, Joe Nagy, all things CSAA basketball, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty on each of these matchups, and especially coming up here, just to keep your eyes out, especially for this episode of the West Michigan Sports Show coming up, we're going to have district assignments for you. Who's playing who's playing where, and what those implications are. We'll dive into that as well. As on the girls' side, next week, when we get there, especially with the staggered season, we'll get into CSAA coverage for them next week, and the following week into district action. Should be a really fun season. We can't wait to bring you guys the postseason coming up. Which, speaking of girls, we'll hop into the CSAA standings here real quick before we get into the March Madness festivities. Right now, as we speak on Saturday, this is how the standings look as of now. Moy Stanwood and Grant tied at the top at 8-1. Moy Stanwood holds the tiebreaker right now. In consideration of MPR, Moy Stanwood's right now sits at .619, one of the highest that I've seen in recent memory. Grant at .579. So right now, Moy Stanwood holds a tiebreaker right now at the top. But, of course, there's still a lot of season to go with a couple of games next week. Kent City, Reed City right behind at 7-2 overall. Big Rapids at 6-3. Those are really the 5 teams left. So Coach Heist and company looking to play spoiler and try to get into one of those final spots of the CSAA tournament upcoming. But Kent City, Reed City, both have been playing really good basketball, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Lakeview, Central, Montcalm, Newaygo behind 4-5, 4-5, 3-6 in conference play respectively, as well as White Cloud 2-8, Tri-County 1-8, and Chip Hills 0-9 this CSAA season. So that's the standings update for you here on the show. Before we go, big thanks to our sponsors for making this show possible. Those include the Macasta Career Center, MODA, the Macasta Transit Authority, Paris Auto Sales and Service of Big Rapids, Alter Care Big Rapids, Quality Car and Truck Repair, the Schuberg Insurance Agency, and Johnson's Automotive. Thank you so much for your support of high school athletics. And thank you guys for the fans here. As many of you may have been able to figure out in this episode, we're at the mobile setup today, so not as great of high quality, but I appreciate you guys sticking through. We'll be back to regular scheduled programming, and what I mean by that is back to regularly scheduled equipment and nicer sounding me coming up here next week on this show when we got CSAA tournament breakdown to go through. Should be very exciting, as well as wrestling state finals coming up. Quick, fast, and a hurry. We'll have coverage for that for you as well. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the West Michigan Sports Show if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any episodes moving forward. But that's going to do it on this edition. Until next Saturday, Brandon Wirth signing off here on the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by the United States Air Force here on News Radio WBRN.